Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we've got some pretty good news for anyone that's a fan of going to the movies, because now another one of the major chains, this time AMC, which as we've been talking about on the channel has been in some financial straits. There's a lot of concern within the company about whether or not they're going to be able to actually survive everything by the end of the pandemic, but it looks like things are not going to be nearly as bad as they could be, because they are starting the reopening process, not here in the States, but actually the first of the theaters to reopen will be in Norway, of all places, which is kind of crazy, though, of course, when you look at just the string of restrictions being lifted all across the world. Norway is one of those logical places, since they have a theater chain there in the capacity of Odin Cinemas, which is in connection with AMC. So let's go ahead and dive into this, and also some of the words from the CEO that will shed some light onto the fact that we are indeed starting to see the moving process, and could, and most likely will see many theaters across the world, including here in the United States, begin to open up over the next few weeks. But before we get into this, please smash that like button. It really does help out a lot. And please check out the links if you want to find out other ways that you can support the channel. So let's dive into the article from Deadline, where it says some good news here, especially on the AMC Theaters front. The Leawood, Kansas-based chain, the #1 circuit in the US and Europe, is reopening 3 Odin cinemas in Norway effective today. All right, so Norway theaters have reopened. Now, as I've mentioned before, I would love to be able to go to a movie as soon as possible, and not a lot of theaters are really opening up near me, and so I said, hey, might need to go on a road trip. Norway is just a little bit too far for me to be able to travel to go to, but it's still exciting nonetheless. Odin Cinemas Oslo Storo 14, Sandvika 8, and Lillestrøm 7 are the first 3 locations within the AMC and Odin Cinemas circuit to reopen, and it's the first of roughly 1,000 theaters worldwide that AMC will reopen in the next several weeks and months as local governments lift restrictions. So again, it looks like they, similar to Cinemark, are going to have the process of reopening already start. As I mentioned, Cinemark plans to start reopening movie theaters here, since they are the 3rd largest chain in the United States, more of a US-based company than a worldwide company like AMC. But what they're going to be end up doing is, in the next couple weeks, starting to reopen theaters on a week-by-week basis. AMC seems to be doing that, but on a more global scale, since they are a more globalized company. AMC plans on an additional 6 more locations in Norway over the next 2 weeks, as the first phase of a wider reopening of Odin cinemas throughout Europe. I join with all AMC and Odin employees around the world to offer our utmost sympathies to those affected by the virus, as well as our sincere gratitude to those who have been on the front lines, said Adam Aaron, CEO and president. He says, for several weeks we have all been cooped up, cut off from our friends, and for many of us, our family, all while having to put aside doing many of the things that we enjoy. The opening of the Odin cinemas locations in Norway is an important first step in bringing movies back to the big screen at AMC and Odin locations, and soon moviegoers around the world once again can enjoy the magic of movie theaters with their friends and family in a safe and welcoming environment. Per AMC, all locations in Norway and throughout Europe will open with new safety procedures to ensure everything. Each theater will program popular repertory titles until new titles become available, with Warner Brothers' Tenet opening on July 17th, followed by Disney's Mulan on July 24th. Solstice Studios will debut Unhinged stateside on July 1st, as well as some foreign territories. And as far as Unhinged goes, if you want to see my instant thoughts to the trailer for Unhinged, starring Russell Crowe, go check out the Welcome to Asgard channel. Click the eye above my head to get access to my secondary channel. That's where I'm doing my trailer reactions, and so it's a hoot, to say the least. But getting back to the AMC news, this is very exciting for me, because, again, there's a lot of people that are haters of AMC in the comment section. Again, I understand being critical of the company. It is still indeed owned, basically owned and operated by the Wanda Group, which is a Chinese-based company. Someone tried to get into a fight with me. I mean, maybe it wasn't a fight, but it definitely came off actually a correction. Came off more of a stooty, stuck-up type of response. And again, if he was trying to help, I'm sorry, but it just didn't come across that way, trying to say, oh, well, actually, they're not owned by China anymore. It's like, well, they are. They still have, like, a little under 50% ownership of the stakes in the company, and because of various dealings that they've had, they actually do still control the board of directors. So if you control the board and you still own a little less than half of the company, I'm sorry, you're the ones that are in control. So it is still a China-owned company, but as I said before in previous videos, that does not change the fact that there are innocent workers that obviously work here because they offer the more flexible hours, they offer a little bit more leniency when it comes to how many hours you can commit to, because it is a movie theater, and obviously it works on a more it works on a different type of schedule, especially when you look at summertime hours and things like that over holidays. It just is a good option for people. Again, I worked with a lot of people that were working multiple jobs or were retired, and this offered them the best opportunity for them. And so I know that these theaters being closed has obviously affected them, maybe for some of them to the point where they've now been at home. Like, let's say it's a retired person, and now they've been at home for the past several weeks, several months, and now they physically can't do that anymore. Again, I know that there's been, for example, I had a teacher once who was an old school guy, and he was forced to step out of the classroom for, just for about a year. And this guy was in his 80s, and by the end of that year, he had died. And I really honestly believe that him being out of the classroom is what did it, because that was what was keeping him active. That was what was keeping his brain going. And so you can, again, throw all the shade you want at the company, being owned by China, or rather by a Chinese company, and you can, throw shade at all that, all those things all you want. And you can have issues with the company, or you can have issues with your local AMC theater, because obviously there are going to be mistakes. We can be critical of companies. We can be critical of practices, no question about it. But the whole let it burn down mentality when it comes to things like this, when again, I have, even though it might come across that way whenever I talk about things like Disney, at the end of the day, I don't want Disney to go away altogether. I would love for Disney's, to stop, pushing identity politics and to fail in those instances, so that way they stop pushing the identity politics in their stuff. But at the end of the day, I also don't want people just to lose money, rather to lose money or to lose their job, specifically those innocent workers that, maybe that's the best job that they can get, or maybe they've been with the company since before all of this really, a lot of this crap started to happen. So again, if you're one of those persons that's just going to throw shade in the chat at the company and just glory in the fact that it's gone the downward track, again, just think about the people that I've mentioned, again, who are going to be negatively impacted by this, the regular workers that are going to be impacted by this, because AMC does offer opportunities. Again, we always talk about how we believe that people should be able to pick themselves up, right? We believe that people should be able to work themselves up. Well, AMC and movie theaters in general are the places where usually people get those first jobs. They're the places where you're normally able to say for the first time, hey, you know what? I can actually start doing some work, and I can start to learn some experience at the age of 15, 16 years old, and then get that experience in the workplace, right? So some people would say, I would say it's almost in a similar vein as in a lot of ways as a fast food restaurant, right? It has that same type of thing with it, and also it provides you the opportunity to grow too, right? So you could be someone that maybe you don't have all the skills in the world, but because you're good at your job and the theater, all the practices of the theater, you can become a supervisor. You can even become a manager, right? You could actually come to the point where they're helping you get through the process of going to schooling, trying to get a degree in business, so that way you can actually become a manager at one point. Again, it's those kind of opportunities that not just AMC, but movie theaters across the world really offer. And so that's why one of the many reasons why I love movie theaters, and I think they offer a lot of great opportunities, and I definitely have a bias towards this. Again, I've mentioned this before. I always make it very clear. I used to work for AMC for about 3 years, had a very good experience there, love the people that I work with. So again, I definitely have a bias towards movie theaters in general, and I know that they're imperfect, and I have my issues with movie theaters too, especially when they don't change the damn bulbs, and I have to watch the damn flicker on the screen, or they don't enforce cell phone policy, or this or that, right? And the mindset of, oh, how are they going to enforce people wearing their mask in a theater when they can't even enforce cell phone policy? Or finally going to see both of those things, and, what can we deal with? What can't we deal with? All these things are questions, but just to see AMC, Cinemark, and Regal eventually, of course, just start the process of reopening, it just makes me happy, because it means more and more people are going to get back to work. It means the economy. That's another big thing too. If AMC were to go under, think about the thousands upon thousands of jobs that will be lost if AMC goes under completely, right? And you could argue, oh, well, another theater chain could take over, but do you honestly think that Regal or Cinemark are going to be financially financially capable of being able to buy anything right now? They're going to be trying to get things back on track, maybe a year or 2 years from now when everything's back up and rolling again. But think about this too. Will the movie theaters actually get to the point of them being able to get to that point of normalcy, be able to continue to make profit and money so that they could actually invest in the future? It's really hard to say at this point in time. So again, I know this is a bit of a ramble, and it's a bit of a it's a little bit preachy, but it is true. And it really does, when I see these people in the comment section just be like, burn it all down, even after, I've mentioned all these different things. They don't bring up any actual points to fight against me. Again, if you're going to have an honest discussion with me and a back and forth about the practices of the company or the practices of Wanda Group or anything like that, I'm willing to have that discussion. But if your comment's just going to be, let it burn, it just really doesn't add anything to the overall conversation. But what are your thoughts about this? Are you excited to see AMC Theaters start the process of reopening again? It is just in Norway for now, but as the CEO has said, this is the process, the starting process of them reopening. And the fact that they said, oh, I don't, just the other day they said, it's very doubtful that we'll be able to fully recover. The fact that they're opening up any theaters at this point in time is definitely a good sign. So let me know your thoughts about this and everything I talked about in the comments section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It helps out a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Intertrap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Benton, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And also to my Subscribe Star members: Edgardo Martinez, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Dark Star 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod, the Beer Guru, and also Nebanon G. Adams and ZK Man. And Jonathan Carney. Thank you all so much for being a member of Patreon and Subscribestar. And seriously, it really does mean a lot. Helps keeps the light on, helps me able to do things like the giveaways for my $5 and up backers on Patreon and Subscribestar, and also be able to put more stuff into the actual channel itself, including upgrading different components, whether it be webcams, microphones, things like that. All of that helps to support it, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you all so very much. Please, if you want to have your name shouted out or look at any of the other perks, which include things like indeed having access to exclusive 4K digital giveaways every single month, and also an exclusive podcast hosted on Patreon and Subscribestar, and also YouTube memberships as well at the $10 and up level, featuring John the Flick Pig Flickinger. Please check all of those things out in the description of this video. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.